Okay, so imagine this. You type in something like a fluffy cat wearing a tiny top hat, and boom, your computer just spits out this amazing image, totally ready to become the next viral meme.
It's incredible, right? That's the power of AI image generation these days.
It really is. But what's even wilder is what we're learning about how these AI artists are actually working behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's not just about, like, matching words to pixels anymore. There's some new research suggesting these AI models are developing a sense of, get this, the third dimension.
That's what we're diving into today, right? This paper called Beyond Surface Statistics, Scene Representations in a Latent Diffusion Model. They're saying stable diffusion, which is one of these AI image generators, might actually be seeing in 3D.
That's the idea. The researchers used a technique called linear probing to kind of peek inside the AI's brain while it's working on these images.
It's like opening up the hood on stable diffusion and trying to figure out how all the parts work together.
Exactly. And they found something pretty amazing. Even though Stable Diffusion learns from flat 2D pictures, it seems like it's building a 3D model inside its system. It's like, imagine teaching a computer to understand depth and perspective, but you never show it an actual 3D object.
Wait, so it can figure out that something further away should look smaller, just like in real life. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, that's what the research is suggesting. They found two different kinds of depth representation going on. The first is called saliency, which basically means the AI is figuring out the main thing in the image, like, say, that stylish cat we were talking about, and it separates that from the background.
So it's not just randomly throwing pixels around. It actually gets that the cat is the star, just like we do.
Exactly. But then there's the really interesting part, continuous depth. It seems like Stable Diffusion is actually picking up on the relative distances between things in an image. Like, it's developing a sense of perspective all on its own.
You mean it's not just separating what's close and what's far away. It's creating a whole depth map, kind of like those fancy cameras use.
Yeah, you could think of it that way.
That's crazy. But here's the thing that really blows my mind. This 3D understanding is happening way before the image even starts to look like anything to us. I mean, the researchers actually show this in figure 4 of their paper.
It's wild, right? In the beginning stages of making the picture, it just looks like a jumbled mess to a human. But the AI already have this clear outline of the scene's depth, the shape of the room, where the furniture would be, everything.
Hold on, so we're talking about steps so early on that even someone who knows what they're doing wouldn't have a clue what the final image is supposed to be, but the AI's already got this sense of the 3D scene?
That's what it looks like.
That is seriously incredible. But, okay, here's a big question. Is it actually using this depth info to make choices about the final image? Or is it just like a cool side effect, you know?
Right. So that's where things get even more interesting, because the researchers went a step further and did what they call intervention experiments. They wanted to see if there was a direct connection between Stable Diffusion understanding depth and the pictures it was creating.
Okay, but how do you experiment on an AI's imagination?
Well, picture it like this. You could reach into the AI's brain as it's making the image and just slightly tweak that internal 3D map we were talking about.
So you're messing with the AI's blueprint and seeing if the house it builds changes.
You got it. And that's basically what they did.
And it worked. They were able to actually move stuff around just by messing with that early depth map.
Yeah, they found some really cool results. Like, in one of their experiments, they were working with an image of a motorbike. And just by tweaking that first hidden 3D version, they could actually shift the motorbike's position in the final picture.
Wow, that's pretty convincing.
Yeah, it's like they were literally moving things around inside the AI's 3D understanding of the scene, and those changes actually showed up in the image. It really proves that this isn't just some random thing happening on the side Stable Diffusion. It's actually using this depth information when it's putting the picture together.
Okay, so that's huge. It's like we always thought AI was just working with these flat versions of the world, but this research is saying it's building something much closer to how we understand things in 3 dimensions.
Right, and that's why this research is so important. It's not just a neat trick. Imagine the possibilities for stuff like virtual reality, where making realistic 3D worlds is like the whole point.
Oh, totally. Or what about self-driving cars? If you could teach a car to see the world in 3D like this, to get depth and distance the way we do, that could totally change the game for how those cars navigate.
Absolutely, and it goes way beyond that. Think about architects designing buildings with AI partners that actually understand 3D space, or video game developers making these crazy realistic worlds, all from just typing in a few words.
It's mind-blowing. All of this just from AI models that were originally made to generate cool images. Who would have thought they were hiding this whole other skill for seeing in 3D?
Right. It shows you the power of AI and how much we still don't understand about it. These systems can learn and adapt in ways we're only just starting to figure out. This research gives us a little peek into how AI could develop abilities like humans, or maybe even better.
It really makes you think, like, what other hidden talents are these AI systems developing right under our noses? What other surprises are we going to find?
That's the million-dollar question. This research was all about stable diffusion, but people are probably looking into other AI image generators too. I mean, we're just scratching the surface of a whole new era in AI. It's not just
Hmm.
about building these systems anymore. It's about trying to wrap our heads around how they're actually becoming intelligent.
So we're not just making the tools, we're trying to understand what makes them tick. It's like we've stumbled onto this whole new continent of AI, and we're just starting to explore the edges. Who knows what we'll find as we get deeper into it, but for now, let's bring it back to this research and why it matters for everyone listening.
It's easy to get lost in all the technical stuff, but what gets me really excited is how clever these systems are. We've got software that's never been told a thing about 3D geometry or how humans see the world, and it's figured out a way to not just represent, but actually manipulate the world in 3 dimensions.
So it's not just clever programming, it's like a whole new kind of intelligence that we're just starting to understand.
Exactly, and I think that's what's so cool and maybe a little bit unnerving about all this. It makes us rethink everything we thought we knew about what intelligence is, how things learn, how we even see the world.
It really does.
If AI can learn about depth and perspective just by looking at flat pictures, what else could it learn from all the data we're throwing at it every single day?
It's a question that opens up a ton of possibilities and maybe a little bit of healthy, wait a minute, we should be careful here at the same time.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. But really, this is why it's so important to not just focus on making AI better, but also on understanding how it works on the inside. The more light we can shine on that so-called black box of AI, the better we'll be at using its power in a responsible way.
So, as we're wrapping up this deep dive into what makes stable diffusion tick, let's leave our listeners with something to chew on. If AI can teach itself how to see in 3D just by looking at 2D pictures, what other hidden talents could these systems be working on right now without us even knowing? What's going to be that next aha moment that changes how we think about what AI can do? It's really got you thinking about what AI will be able to do next.
It is. I mean, if it can learn something as crazy complex as 3D vision just from looking at flat images, who knows what other breakthroughs are just around the corner.
It's true.
This stable diffusion research is just one piece of a much bigger picture.
Right.
We've got all these other AI models out there, each one built differently and learning in its own way. Who knows what other hidden depths we'll find as we keep digging?
It's like we're in a whole new scientific revolution, and AI is leading the charge. Every time we discover something new, it feels like it raises even more questions than answers.
Totally. And that's what makes it so exciting. We're not just building tools, we're trying to understand the heart of intelligence itself, both artificial and the kind we have. By studying how AI learns and changes, we might even learn something new about how our own brains work.
It's like we're holding up a mirror to our own minds, trying to understand ourselves better through AI.
Exactly. And even though this whole depth perception thing might seem like a small thing in the grand scheme of things, it could open up all these new doors, leading to discoveries we can't even imagine right now.
So, as we wrap up, what's the one big thing you'd want our listeners to take away from all of this? What should really stick with them?
I think the main message here is that AI isn't science fiction anymore. It's real, it's learning, and it's changing incredibly fast. This stable diffusion research just gives us a small taste of what AI could be capable of, both the amazing potential and the challenges that come with it.
It's a future bursting with possibilities, and it's up to all of us to be thoughtful and responsible as we explore it. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the incredible world of AI. We'll be back next time with another exciting topic, breaking down complex ideas and uncovering those surprising connections that make learning so much fun.